The moving truck rumbled away, leaving me in a cloud of exhaust and the unsettling silence of Hollow Street. This was it, 40 to Hollow Street, my new beginning. The real estate agent had called it a character apartment, which I'd quickly learned was code for old, creaky, and probably haunted. But the rent was a dream, and after the last few months, I needed a win. I hefted the last box, the one labeled Fragile Memories, and staggered through the front door. The apartment was spacious. The high ceilings and large, curtainless windows gave it an airy, almost cavernous feel. Sunlight streamed in, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air like tiny, silent ballerinas. I dropped the box with a thud that echoed through the empty rooms. Home sweet home, or, at least, home for now. The first few hours were a blur of unpacking. I started with the kitchen, figuring a cup of tea was the most logical first step in establishing domestic bliss. As I unwrapped mugs and plates, I noticed the quiet. Not just city quiet, where there's always a distant siren or the hum of traffic, but a deep, profound silence. It felt like the building itself was holding its breath. The agent had mentioned the building was only partially occupied, and my apartment was on the ground floor. Perfect. No noisy neighbors to worry about. By evening, I'd managed to carve out a small, habitable corner in the living room. I collapsed onto my lumpy sofa, surrounded by a fortress of cardboard boxes, and ordered a pizza. As I scrolled through my phone, waiting for dinner, I heard it for the first time. Thump, thump, thump. It was faint, coming from directly above me. Footsteps, slow, heavy, deliberate, like someone was pacing. I frowned, lowering my phone. The agent had been very clear. The apartment above mine, 1B, was vacant. It was undergoing renovations, she'd said. Maybe a construction worker was up there, finishing up late. It was possible. I tried to ignore it, turning up the volume on a cat video. But the rhythmic thumping was a persistent, nagging beat beneath the manufactured chair. The pizza arrived, and for a while, the simple pleasure of melted cheese and greasy crust distracted me. But as soon as I was done, the pacing started again. Thump, thump, thump. It was unnerving. The sound was so clear, so close, it felt like the person was right on the other side of the ceiling, their weight pressing down on the old floorboards. I decided to investigate. Armed with nothing but my phone's flashlight and a healthy dose of skepticism, I crept out into the building's main hallway. The air was colder here, musty with the smell of old paper and dust. The staircase to the second floor creaked ominously under my feet. Everything in this building seemed to groan in protest. The door to apartment 1B was at the top of the stairs. It was plain, brown, and had a tarnished brass 1B nailed to it. A thin line of yellow caution tape was stretched across the doorframe. The words "Renovation Do Not Enter" printed in stark black letters. I pressed my ear against the cold wood. Silence. Not a single sound. No pacing. No shuffling. Nothing. Had I imagined it? Maybe the building was just settling. Old houses make weird noises, right? That's what people always say. Feeling a little foolish, I headed back down to my apartment, reassuring myself that it was just new home jitters. Back inside, the silence felt heavier than before. I double-checked the lock on my door, a habit I'd picked up in my old place, and tried to settle in for the night. I left a single lamp on in the living room, its warm glow pushing back against the shadows that gathered in the corners. I must have drifted off on the sofa, because I woke up with a start, my neck stiff and my phone still clutched in my hand. The apartment was pitch black, the lamp having burned out, and the footsteps were back. Thump, thump, thump. They were louder this time, more insistent. A cold dread trickled down my spine. It wasn't just pacing anymore. It sounded agitated. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was not the building settling. This was something else. I fumbled for my phone, my thumb swiping clumsily across the screen to turn on the flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, making the stacks of boxes look like misshapen monsters. I stayed completely still, listening. The footsteps stopped. The silence that followed was somehow worse. It was an expectant silence, a waiting silence. My thumb accidentally brushed against the voice memo app. I'd been recording notes for a work project earlier in the day. I went to close it, but my finger slipped, and I hit play on the most recent recording. It was just a few seconds of silence that I must have recorded by accident. I was about to delete it when I heard it. A whisper. It was faint, buried under a layer of static, like a voice from a long-distance call on a bad line. I pressed the phone to my ear, my breath catching in my throat. I hit play again, turning the volume all the way up. The static crackled, and then, the whisper, clearer this time. A dry, raspy voice, barely human. It said 2 words, 113. 113. What did that mean? An address, a time. It was nonsense. A random glitch in the recording. Maybe my own breathing distorted. I tried to rationalize it, to find a logical explanation, but the fear was a cold, hard knot in my stomach. The footsteps, the whisper, it was too much. I scrambled off the sofa, my bare feet cold against the wooden floor. I had to get out, just for the night. I could go to a hotel, sort this out in the morning. In the bright, rational light of day, this would all seem ridiculous. As my hand reached for the doorknob, I heard a new sound. It wasn't coming from upstairs anymore. It was coming from the kitchen, a soft, scraping noise, like fingernails dragging across wood. Scrod ob. My blood ran cold. I wasn't alone in the apartment. Slowly, shakily, I turned, pointing my phone's flashlight toward the kitchen doorway. The beam trembled, dancing across the unpacked boxes and bare walls. The scraping stopped. I held my breath, my ears straining in the suffocating silence. Then, the whisper came again. Not from my phone this time. It was in the room with me. It slithered out of the darkness in the kitchen doorway, a cold, sibilant hiss that seemed to curl around me. 113. My scream was silent, trapped in my throat. My flashlight beam found the source. In the shadowy archway of the kitchen stood a figure, tall and impossibly thin. Its form was a contorted silhouette against the deeper blackness behind it. It didn't move, it just stood there, watching me. I couldn't see a face, but I could feel its gaze. A heavy, ancient malevolence that pressed down on me, stealing the air from my lungs. The apartment, my supposed sanctuary, had become a cage, and I was locked inside with whatever was whispering from the shadows. The quiet of Hollow Street wasn't peaceful. It was predatory, and it had just found its new tenant. Thank you so much for joining me for the first episode of Hollow Street Season 2. If you're as terrified as I am to find out what happens to Claire, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single chilling moment. Let me know your theories about 113 in the comments below. Stay safe, and see you next time.